Hey folks, and welcome to the Pipnotic Symposium for the 17th of December 2018. This is probably going to be the last one before Christmas and the New Year. We're leaving on Saturday for Singapore and in Thailand, and so probably not going to have a whole lot of time to do anything. Anyway, the market's going to be a little bit quiet and boring and not very volatile, so I think we'll just wait for the New Year before we get too involved in this again. But everything in Pipnotic is really good. As many of you already know, we are moving Pipnotic. So Pipnotic in Denmark has been closed down, and we're opening a new office in Malaysia, in the Labuan Islands. So I'm in the process of doing that now, and so kind of in a stage of limbo. But many of you who are living in Europe are already able to take advantage of no VAT, which is lovely, because in Europe it's pretty darn expensive VAT, and so this is something that you will no longer have to pay because we are no longer situated in Europe. So that's really nice. And so if you haven't already done so, please cancel your subscription if you live in Europe. Otherwise, you will not feel any change or any difference at all. And in the new year, when the office is up and running, everything should be streamlined and start to move quite nicely again. But today I'm going to we're going to have a look at supply and demand robots. I think the pools robot is doing pretty good. I think Romy and Elijah and Volker are doing a really nice job of taking care of that space in the channel. And if you have any questions, please send them in there, and everyone will get to that as soon as possible. But the supply and demand robot, which is essentially quite similar, is also running, and I'm not going to release that until Pipnotic is set up in Malaysia, because I want to ensure that we have the company established before we start doing that. But I'm just going to show you a little bit about what the Sudema robot is doing. I call it Sudema, SU for supply and DEMA for demand, so Sudema. I was kind of hoping for a nice feminine name for the robot, but I ended up getting something pretty masculine. Anyway, so this is just to give you an update as to what something else that's really important. I know many of you are really into the supply and demand, and as am I. Supply and demand is the golden strategy in my optic, at least. But if you are a member, then of course you have access to the currency strength information, which is also really interesting and very powerful. And I use this a lot. I just keep an eye on it. Mostly use it for trade entries and trade management. And it's really interesting and very useful, because if we look at this top window here, the software is showing us currency strength developments since the open of the currently active session, which for me is the Asian session. So here we have all 8 currency crosses, and you can see that we have the yen and the kiwi, which are the weak ones, and we have the euro and the Canadian dollar, which are the strong ones. So obviously for this session we have the euro and the CAD being purchased, and we have the yen and the kiwi that are being sold. This is just really nice information when you're going and positioning yourself and trying to figure out what to trade, because even though you like trading the euro, USD, or the kiwi or whatever, it's not always that this pair will be setting up. So keep your eye on this information here, and this will certainly ensure that especially if you're intraday and shorter term, that you're trading in line with the major flows during a given session. Okay, cool. So let's have a look at the Sudema robot. I have it running here. Let me put this template on. Let's see what we have going. We have a couple of trades running, nothing really too busy. And the robot bought here, and this is a really interesting area because we had overlapping. We had this area of 4-hour demand. We have this parent down here, so this is a child, and we have the 1-hour parent here. This is interesting because the first time price came down to the hourly demand, look how it reacted. So we can anticipate a similar kind of reaction on the second approach, because we saw a lot of interest in buying there. If we scroll out a little bit, you can see that we have this area of demand here, tested once, and price left quickly. The second test, price left very quickly, probably had some nice divergence at this area. And this is a third test. And I always talk about taking these areas on the first test only, but keep in mind that if price does not manage to penetrate the area to a certain degree, here we went just over halfway through, which is a lot, but we had an incredible reaction. So we appeared to have attracted some buyers at this level here. And so the robot said, cool, we'll go for it. As a matter of fact, this is actually a 4-hour position, I think. Yeah, no, this is a 1-hour position. So this traded the area. It was just in here, the nested area of demand, which has now been taken out, I can see. And so price left, and we bought the retest in anticipation that price is going to at least fill this liquidity void here. So we have thick liquidity, we have thin liquidity, both to the upside and the downside. So we expect that price will be able to move back through this relatively easy until it gets into this area just up here. And we have our target just here, just below here, and the robot did all this for us. But the major difference between this robot and the other robot is the configuration options. And so we have, many of the settings are the same, as you'll notice, but we have other things like this, which is like session information, so which sessions it can or cannot trade. We have days that it's allowed to trade, and that's pretty much the extent of it. This robot is not cascading orders, so it's not putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 areas in here. It's just doing the kind of the singular entry strategy that we normally do, and we've been doing for many years at Pipnotic, and it seems to work really well. This is how I like to trade. I think that the cascading orders in and around the area is a very interesting approach, because you're getting a better price for each slice of the position, and for that reason it's very good. And this robot can also do that for you, but in its default configuration we're taking one trade at an area, and we're looking for a half decent risk reward, and that's it, just to keep things really nice and simple. And so yeah, we have a few different configuration options, but essentially we're seeing the same thing. We have our slippage, our spread, we have the time frame, we have a setting called current chart, and when this is set to true, like so, it's not looking at this stuff here or this here, it's looking at the time frame of the chart and the symbol of the chart that we're currently looking at. So if we enabled it now, it would be looking for areas to trade at on the Euro USD on the 1-hour time frame. And then we have all this other stuff that is similar to the other robot, to the pools robot. And so we're seeing essentially pretty much the same thing here. The only difference is we have a few more features down here to help us stay out of sessions that we don't necessarily like to trade at, and maybe not trade on Monday or Friday. And if this is something that's interesting for the pools users, I'll most certainly add this. I can add this to the pools robot. Just give us a shout in the pools channel, and I will definitely add this in the beginning of the new year. Cool. So if we have a look at the current trades, we have the Euro USD, we have the Pound USD as well. Let's have a look at this one. You can see this is a 1-hour entry, and this is beautiful because price came down here, we fed into a weekly area, which I really liked, and then as a result I kind of flicked on the robot on here and just let it find a nice 1-hour area to buy it, because I know that we're feeding into weekly demand. Let's see if this is, yeah, you can see it just here. So I'm expecting price to continue to move higher. We have no supply here until we get up to here. We have parent, we have child, and there's nothing in here to stop price, at least on the weekly. If we go to the smaller time frame, there's nothing here. We have some stuff here. We have this here, which is something we want to be careful of. So essentially you can, and we have something down here as well. If we zoom in, you can see that we have a nice departure here, but we have all this. So price is traded in the area, so ideally we could leave this until price got up into here somewhere. But we're getting close to Christmas, so I just want to kind of be out of this before Christmas. So we'll leave it like that and see what happens. So it's just a really nice tool, and it's pretty much I'm pretty much using it to help me put trades on the chart. So instead of having to let me show an example. So if I enable this, let's reset it. And I say current chart, I'll set that to true. Let's go to so here I'm going to disable the swaps, so I don't care about that. I'm just going to drag this on there. Let's go here, and so essentially if I enable it now, it's going to find an area of supply or demand that is closest to price. And it found this one here. This is the area of 4-hour supply, which is closest to price. So this is the one that we expect price to react at first. It'll probably react here. When price comes down and moves through, it'll either move higher up into this, or this will hold price and it'll move down into this down here. And so it's just a really nice tool for that. So if I pause it, I go to the euro, so the dollar CAD. So before I do that, we have this lovely, we have our area of supply here. What I like to do is I like to go to the smaller time frame and just refine the entry. You can see we have a bit of a mess here. Price came down, kind of did a lot of stuff here. Then we have the real release point is down here. So I could move it down here like so, or I could move it up here to this one here, which is lovely, because as you can see how price has already been in here, but I'm going to leave it like this, okay, because I like the looks of that. I'm going to put this on about a 1-to-1, and I'll leave it at that. And so going to the smaller time frames after the robot has placed the order, just a really good idea. And we have this, which is very nice. If we go to the dollar yen, we'll have a look. Okay, let's have a look. What do we have here? We have the closest one to price is this one here. So if I flick this on, it's probably going to find this and add an order, which it did just there. So I'll disable, go to smaller time frames, refine the entry. What do I have? I mean, this looks fine. We have this down here. Ideally, this is the area of demand, which is good. We have a parent. This is a child, so it's kind of buying at the higher edge of this parent here. We have this area down here, which looks pretty interesting as well. We'll put this down to a 1-to-1. So it's finding this area of demand. It's multiplying the size of that by stop multiply 1.5. So we have 1.5 the times the size of this 4-hour demand, and that's the stop, and the target is just here. Yeah, so that's what we have there. So let's do the same thing. If we go to the 1-hour chart, what do we have? Well, we have this up here. You know what? Just for fun, I really like this release. Dun, dun. So just to illustrate how this works, I'll disable. So I delete that and I'll enable this. We should start looking up here now. But it didn't. It found this one to be more attractive. Maybe the configuration settings in between the supply and demand software and the robot are a little bit different, so it skipped this one and it found this one to be the next area that was most attractive. And this is a nice area indeed, so I totally get why it chose that. So let's go to the 30-minute chart and have a look. And so you can see that if we go to the smaller time frame even, scroll and have a look, you can see that we had a nice release from around this area here. So I'd actually put the entry like that, because price came up, went down, we rallied, accumulated, and this is where we left. So this is the candle that left. This is the accumulation that is responsible for that. But as a matter of fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this, I'm going to say I want 2 times the size, and I can delete this. I'm going to put another order on. Go back down to the 5-minute. Scroll back. So we have a little bit more air. So the position size goes down. And we have that like this, okay? So let's have a look. A little bit higher as well, like that. Here we have a nice kind of accumulation, then a push higher. and when price left here, is responsible for moving above this. And this is interesting because when price moved from here, it went below this here, or pretty close to it, it challenged it at least. And so this is an interesting area. I do prefer this down here, but I'm going to leave this just so we have something we can look at. So I'm going to go like that. Let's have a look at the 1 minute, see if we can find that kind of the bleeding edge area of demand, like the precise entry level. Yeah, and you can see right here how price accumulated, popped up, accumulated, came down, and then left. So this is the beginning of the buy zone. So we expect price to come around here and not move below that. So this is just a really nice area. So this candle here, these two are pointing to the edge of the buy zone, which is here. So this is a very nice. We may or may not get filled there, depending on the on what price does when it gets there, because the spreads, we don't know what the spreads will be like once price gets there, but we'll leave it at that. Good, so we have that. I mean, it looks like a pretty nice area there. I like that very much. Go to 4 hour. We keep dragging these pairs along. Oof, oh, this is a really nice one. This is a really lovely area just here. This is actually very nice, and the reason I like this is because where has price been back to on this chart? Sort of been back to here. So this is actually the beginning of the buy zone, and this is just a gorgeous area of demand. But we still have this price, the origin from this move, is down to here, and here we have demand in the leg that fed up into here. And we're having, you see how we 1 push, 2 push, 3 push, and so price will potentially break down and have a bit of a retracement. You can also see that we have a high, low, lower high, lower low. So this gut feeling, because of looking at charts for such a long time, I would expect price to continue to do that and move back to around this area here, just because I can feel in my stomach that this area feels much nicer than this one here. So what I would do, matter of fact, is I would go like this. I really like this area here. Yeah, and I'll do it. I think that's the place that price is going to have a better bounce from. So I like that one there much better. So we'll see if price manages to feed in here. That's super. So we could go for a 3 to 1. We'll leave it like that. We don't know what's going to happen. We have holidays coming up soon. Yeah. So essentially, I mean, this is what the robot is doing. It's, I mean, based on the core of the supply and demand software, which is really really powerful stuff. I find a lot of the members are trading just at these levels, and you can do that very, very comfortably. But if you want to do that, I'll give you a tip for doing this. So let's say we're looking at this pair, and there are areas all over the place. We have weekly area, price fed into, now price is breaking down. We had this 4 hour area, price tested it. We had this 4 hour area, price tested it. You can see how well these are respected. We had this daily area, which is almost tested, not quite. We're having a second go. So just keep in mind that when we have price moving up like this, going like this, I've said this before in previous symposiums, but I don't think I've said this for a while. Keep in mind that when price is moving from here up to here, okay, so we have the high, we have the low. Okay, so this is the origin of this move higher. And so if we want to characterize the risk and the potential for a win based on this move here, excuse me, this is up here. Here we have level 5. Here we have 0, and here we have 10. So the closest price moves to 0, the higher the probability of the order, of the trade working out. So if you're trading up here, these are a little bit dangerous trades, okay? So it's lower probability, higher and higher and higher. So the closer you move to the, to the origin, the higher the probability of the trade. And so knowing this, I probably wouldn't be interested in taking trades excuse me, that are above 5. I would look to take trades that are below 5 and closer to 0. And what I like the most here is this and this. And this is interesting because we had price move up and then down and then up and accumulate and then a jump. And whenever you see accumulation, this means that we have liquidity distribution. Excuse me, I got like an insect or something in my throat. So price moved sideways and then we shot up. So this tells me that this is a really nice area, and the fact that price came down and left from this area tells me that this is also a very nice area. So if we mark this off, then you could probably see why this is potentially a good area. We're reacting at 4-hour demand here. Let's have a look on the daily chart and see what that is. Here you can see that these are some pretty significant lows, and we're reacting at kind of this. You see how price went up, went down, went up, went down. And so if you look at this, I mean, price had returned to this level. So since price left here, we've come back to here, and then here a little bit more, and price went a little bit deeper. And so, I mean, this is telling us that there's a lot of interest to buy below this area. And so yes, this looks like a nice area and I like this, but we are reacting a weekly supply, which means okay, we might want to be a little bit careful because there's tremendous bearish liquidity distribution at this level here. And so price had a really big reaction there, and you can see that very clearly. Our price went up, we accumulated for a few days, and then we cut down, we moved down to this area of demand, and our price is kind of breaking down. And so I would be pretty interested in buying. Obviously here, I wouldn't, this is not a set and forget trade. This is one that you would put on and you would keep an eye on, reducing risk or taking profits as the trade is developing. But this one down here, I'd be much more comfortable trading and not getting too concerned about. And so from here and down, like around here, we have a pretty decent buy zone. Keeping in mind that we are range bound. You can see we're stuck. Let me go to the weekly chart. We're range bound, so we have the lows around here. We have the highs of that range on this accumulation bar here. So this is a really nice area to buy. We're buying down here and selling anywhere in here a little bit risky. Ideally, we want to be selling at the highs of this range. And we know we are range bound because, well, you can look at it, you can see how we had price come up here and we will move down here. You see how price keeps approaching the highs. We had a high, we have this low, price came to it. We had this high, price came to it a couple of times. We have this low, price came to it. That means that you do not want to be buying at a price any more expensive than roughly the lows here, and you don't want to be selling for a price any more expensive than the highs up here. Okay, so just keep that in mind here. It's pretty clear, but we do have some pretty interesting areas that we could play with. I like this one here quite a lot, and I like this one here quite a lot as well. And this is interesting because this is accumulation that took place within the weekly demand. So very, very interesting. Okay, right. I'm not gonna push this too much longer. I'll keep this nice and short. But if you have any questions, please send these in the forum. And I might be a little bit quiet over Christmas and New Year's because we're going to be traveling and stuff with the family and some friends, and so I won't be terribly active. But I of course will be available, and so I will be responding to emails and I'll be in the chat rooms and stuff. But not as much as I normally am. But I wish you all a really lovely Christmas and a happy New Year, and I hope that that the New Year provides a lot of really good opportunities for you and your families. Yeah, it's exciting times, exciting times. Despite the fact that there is so much crap going on politically, geopolitically in the world, with the election in Brazil, and we have Trump sitting there, and we have Brexit, and a lot of other terrible things going on. I think there's still a lot of reasons to be happy. I'm sitting here now in this bamboo house, just looking around at this beautiful nature that we're surrounded by. It's very motivating and very peaceful to be here. So that's nice. So focus on the cup being half full, and I think things will be okay. And reduce your consumption. Yes. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I will speak to you all in the chat forums and in the new year. Thanks for watching.